Over the last couple of weeks, I've gotten some questions about beef trade, how much we import and export. So I thought in this week's One Big Thing in Livestock Markets, we'd take a look at beef trade because last week we actually got the data, the USDA's trade data for March, which lets us look at the whole first quarter of the year, and then we'll compare against the first quarter of the year last year. So starting with beef imports, if we take a look at imports, we actually have some real movement in kind of the right direction when it comes to beef. And by right direction, I mean less imports and more exports. So starting with imports, if we take a look at that through the first quarter of the year, we actually imported almost 10% less beef than we did a year ago. Over the last couple of years, the big increase in imports in response to our high prices and a strong dollar and things like that, a lot of the increase in imports came from Australia. So this quarter, we kind of turned it around where a lot of the decline in imports actually came from Australia. So we had less beef coming from that country. So as we look across all our trade, we actually brought in less beef. We import beef from other countries as well. So if we look at New Zealand, Brazil, Nicaragua, places like that, we imported less beef from those countries. But if you think of our NAFTA trading partners, Mexico and Canada, we actually imported more beef from those countries. So and in fact, Mexico's share of imports, or their total imports, or their exports to the U.S. imports from Mexico totaled about 108 million pounds in the quarter, which was about the largest ever. In fact, it was only as recently as 1989 that we actually imported zero beef from Mexico. So that's been a big growth area. If we look at the export side of things, exports actually improved in the quarter. They were up about 1.5% versus a year ago. So again, some movement in the right direction, following less imports but getting some more exports along the way as well. If we think about our big four trading partners, Japan, South Korea, Canada, and Mexico, for beef exports, our exports were up to Asia, but actually down a little bit when it comes to our North American trading partners. So, but again, overall movement in the right direction. So if we look at the net, imports minus exports, the net trade was actually down about 90 million pounds in the quarter. As we think about what does that mean in the big picture, that's about a quarter of a pound of beef per capita less on our market than we contended with a year ago. So it is, again, some movement in the right direction in terms of beef. There's one market that I would talk about that really we've had some movement in the wrong direction, and that's the lamb market. Lamb imports, the industry has had to struggle against more and more lamb imports, particularly over the last couple of years, and the first quarter was no exception. We imported 54 million pounds of lamb in the first quarter. That was up 28% over the first quarter of a year ago. And if you think about the holiday seasons that go on where we actually move lamb in retail channels, we really focus on the Easter and other religious holidays. And so we really contended with a lot more lamb hitting the market at exactly that time of the year as we got into those our religious holidays. So that's really some movement in the wrong direction on that side. And if we looked at prices, I think slaughter lamb weight prices and particularly racks have really felt the brunt of the increased level of imports. So the trade picture is something we want to look at some more going forward periodically, but certainly on the beef side, I think there's some good news and providing some, I think, a little relief or a little less pressure on prices simply because of an improving trade situation.